ladies and gentlemen, P.J. O'Rourke, Give War a Chance. I bought this for $1 and I actually made it all the way through the book. We've got a few good quotes that we'll take from it. If you like listening to Christopher Hitchens, this is like Hitchens. It's funny, witty, interesting, amusing anecdotes and stuff. He talks, this is published in 1990, he talks about going to Iraq after the war and stuff. Well, let's see, the first quote that we'll get, page 57. He went to the Berlin Wall when it was being taken down, and he went to Russia after the fall of the wall and everything, and he was standing there seeing the wall, and he realized we won. Okay, so he's talking to Nina, this Russian. She's a very pro-anti-Guerrilla political party bit there. Pro-anti. They were just very confused. Everybody knew communism was out, but they had no idea what was going on besides that. So she repeated all complaints against this party group, the guy, Gamsika. But, she said, in reality, the problem is that our president is not acting rationally. He behaves in a hysterical manner. He is crazy. So, she thinks that's how they're going to have to fix their situation. Maybe it wasn't Russia, it was Ukraine or something. It was in the former Soviet Union. And P.J. O'Rourke replies, "Crazy? Is that all? Nina, in the United States, we elect crazy presidents all the time. You people really don't understand democracy, do you?" So I thought that that's worth a thought right there. You do not establish democracy so that you'll have wonderful, brilliant, rational leaders. You establish democracy, or actually, I'm against democracy. It put Socrates to death. But if we use democracy just as the general term of the individual being important in some way, you don't establish a system where the individual is important and protected by law just so that you can have brilliant leaders. Actually, you do it because you know you're always going to have stupid leaders, and they just won't have the chance to mess people's lives up as much. We don't want brilliant leaders. We don't want rational presidents. We don't want powerful men in office. What we want is freedom. And we need to have some guy up there who can give the orders in case we're invaded or something. So generally speaking, you shouldn't really have to care too much about who is the president. In dire times and stuff, maybe, yeah. By and large, you really shouldn't need to go vote. Leave it up to the people who have a pig in the fight or a rooster in the fight or whatever. You shouldn't have to go vote all the time to protect yourself from the government swarming in and destroying your life and your lifestyle and so on. So that's the difference between freedom on the one hand and tyranny on the other. Democracies do not give us good tyrants. What they do is they put idiots in, but we're protected from it because no matter how bad the idiots act and what they do, they can't have a huge effect on our daily lives. To the extent that they can, this is something that's gotten out of control. Interesting thought there. You want a democracy for good leadership? Forget it. We don't have good leaders in democracy. 2 pages later. So the leader of France, the leader of the United States, and the leader of the Soviet Union they are going to a meeting with God. They didn't die, they're just in a meeting. The leader of France says, "My country faces many difficult problems. Lagging exports, today they have like a 12% unemployment. Muslim minorities, European unification. How long will it be before France's problems are solved?" And God says, 15 years, you'll have them worked out. And the leader's like, "Oh no, I'll be dead by then." That's it. Then the President of the United States steps up and says, "My country faces many difficult problems. We have recessions." Now this is back in 1991, this is published, but we've got a recession again now in 2010. "Recession, crime, racial prejudice. How long will it be before America's problems are solved?" God says, 10 years, you'll have them taken care of. Bush begins to cry and he says, "Oh, I'll be out of office by then. And I won't get any credit for solving the problems." Boo-hoo. Then the leader of Russia, Gorbachev at the time, says, My country faces many, many difficult problems. How long will it be before the Soviet Union's problems are solved? And God begins to cry. That's how bad off they were seen as being. And they have fallen back into despotism now. Putin is their leader, even though another guy's been elected. He's just a puppet. All right, 2 pages on, page 61. You all know about the evacuation of Saigon and the last American helicopter lifting off with people, and people are on the roof of the embassy. And terrible situation. When that famous last helicopter left the roof of the American embassy in 1975, we were, imperially, colonially, and capitalistically speaking, just going out for a beer. We're just going out for a beer, taking off, but we'll be back. Now we're back, he says. Actually, we're not back. The United States still has some SNIT-induced total embargo on trade with Vietnam. Not anymore. But everybody else is back. French, British, Japanese, Taiwanese, Hong Kong, Chinese, mainland Chinese, overseas Vietnamese, and smelly Scandinavian backpackers. Meanwhile, the locals have let go of Karl Marx with both hands. So then he talks about being in Vietnam and what he saw there and stuff. Good book, good read, easy to get through. Not too deep, very interesting and funny. Go to page 75 now, a few pages on. He talks about how the Americans went into this country of guerrilla warfare and didn't have much experience. And he says, quote, "Thus the Vietnamese had 1,923 more years of experience in guerrilla warfare than the U.S. Army did." And that's that quote there. But he must be forgetting, he's saying the U.S. Army didn't have any experience in guerrilla warfare, must be forgetting the colonial wars, the independence from Britain. Fine, maybe that wasn't the U.S. Army, that was before the United States as such existed. Okay, what about the 75-year-long war against the American Indians? That was guerrilla warfare. That was, every once in a while we go in and try to make deals with them and stuff, and they would attack us in the middle of negotiations and stuff. That was guerrilla warfare. So maybe he just didn't have those two things in mind. Page 81, fantastic quote here. What is a city? Lots of definitions for a city could be given. Large gathering of people where enormous amounts of commerce go on or whatever. Well, he says a city is the mess left from people getting rich. You see a city, that means somebody's gotten rich, or a lot of somebodies have gotten rich. Not a bad definition for a city. Now here's a hilarious bit. He talks about Jimmy Carter, you know, that president. Jimmy Carter and his wife published a book or some books, a couple books or something. And he says now we've unelected Jimmy Carter. Quote, "So now what are we going to do with him? Him and his nitwit wife. We can't go on letting them write books. It's too embarrassing. This is an industrialized Western nation. We can't have things like this in our bookstores. We'll get drummed out of the English-speaking league. We've got to find some other line of work for these two before they, oh God, write again." So that's hilarious, I thought. What are we going to do with it? We can't have them publishing. Page 203, next quote. He's talking about the Gulf War. He says, "Peacenik types say that there would be no war if people truly understood how horrible war is. They are wrong. People don't mind a little horror. They can even be enthusiastic about it if the horror is happening to somebody else. But everybody hates to be bored and uncomfortable. If people truly understood how much sleeping on rocks, how much eating things rejected by high school cafeterias, how much washing small parts of the body in cold water, and how much sheer sitting around in the dirt war entails, we might have world peace after all. But the horror," he says, "that's not going to convince people. People quite like a bit of that. What they wouldn't like is sitting around in dirt, not having the luxuries of washing your body in warm water and so on."